Lifelong learning mindset, develop skills for continuous growth. This learning video will focus on understanding lifelong learning as a concept related to professional and personal growth, upskilling, and reskilling in professional adulthood. The session aims to increase awareness about the role of lifelong learning in developing employability skills and a lifelong learning mindset. To understand the lifelong learning concept, we'll examine its origin and connectivity with similar ideas to have a clear perspective on lifelong learning principles in professional life. Additionally, we'll discuss soft skills involved in lifelong learning and use them to make learning efforts easier. What is lifelong learning? Lifelong learning is a concept with various definitions and interpretations across disciplines that has raised debates mostly because of its integration in educational systems and public policies. There is a lot of controversy around the lifelong learning idea, as it shares commonalities with other concepts like continuous learning or adult education. Lifelong learning refers to educational principles and theories like continuous education, adult training, and continuous professional development, learning pathing, career pathing, self-directed learning, or social learning. Moreover, terms like ongoing education, constant learning, and continuous learning are seldom used interchangeably. Why should learning be a lifelong endeavor? Lifelong learning is an ideal that has inspired educators to create different learning models or frameworks and public policies across human history. The value of lifelong learning was recognized long before the modern era. The lifelong learning concept can be traced back to the ancient world when philosophers promoted a holistic view on education. Utopian aspirations and philosophical systems created to achieve social equity and sustainable development to the tech industry nowadays that uses learning patterns and learning strategies and principles to develop AI models. Scientists are studying how learning happens inside the brain so AI can imitate human learning patterns. AI researchers rely on neural networks and human learning habits and behaviors to develop AI models. Lifelong learning and the constant pursuit of happiness. Among the earliest authors who promoted the lifelong learning ideal was the Greek philosopher Plato. Emphasized the importance of education as a lifelong pursuit. He believed in a holistic approach to education that cultivated the intellect, the soul, and the character of people. Most of all, he considered the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom a virtue and at the same time, a lifelong learning journey that accompanies us through all life stages. From this point of view, we can say that this concept is a continuous personal endeavor and that lifelong learning journeys are similar to people's constant pursuit of happiness. Dewey advocated the concept of lifelong learning through his experience-based approach to education. He argued that learning should be a lifelong process comprising experiences that foster a spirit of inquiry and adaptability, enabling learners to grow and evolve continually throughout their lives. Along the way, the lifelong learning concept gradually grew in importance at the individual, team, and organizational levels. Around 1990, Peter Senge introduced the idea that organizations need to become learning organizations in order to adapt to the changing environment and stay competitive. Time. A constant pursuit of knowledge to obtain happiness and well-being. Efforts and experiences to continually grow and evolve throughout life. And an organizational and collective objective to adapt to the changing environment and stay competitive. Lifelong learning definitions. Learning to adapt is a characteristic shared by all living organisms on Earth. It's a survival mechanism and a part of how we function biologically and socially. What does it mean learning throughout life? To better understand what is lifelong learning, let's explore a few definitions. Among the first authors who discussed learning through life for adults was Malcolm Knowles. He defines andragogy as the art and science of helping adults learn, which emphasizes the learner's self-direction, experience, and motivation. From this perspective, each professional and personal learning journey has a particular value assigned by the learners according to their interpretation and needs throughout life. So, whether formal like mandatory education, or informal, such as courses attended to perfect skills or reskill, lifelong learning it's a unique reference to time. Learning is a lifetime journey starting from infancy until the day we perish. Other educators answered this question, considering that learning is synonymous with life. We learn all the time. Literally. We learn all the time we live. In fact, learning and living are profoundly intertwined. Learning is an integral aspect of what it means to live a fully human life. Lifelong learning and professional competence. Most professions demand keeping up with new knowledge, scientific discoveries, and work trends. For example, engineers, psychotherapists, doctors, auditors, etc. In such cases, lifelong learning is an ethical obligation required by the practice of each profession, and some of them require mandatory associated membership, periodic training, and job assessments. Lifelong learning is perceived by a part of education researchers as a viable solution to many social and economic issues of our society and a continuously changing world. This concept is already integrated in more or less successful educational programs like the European Lifelong Framework, which is presented as a way of living, a permanent endeavor to acquire new skills and knowledge for self-perfection. In the European framework, lifelong learning is a guiding principle of public policies, and it's linked with significant returns of employability and hiring prospects, intended to protect people by helping them choose better career pathways in the labor market. This is its definition according to the European Community Memorandum. All purposeful learning activity undertaken on an ongoing basis with the aim of improving knowledge, skills, and competence. The most common understanding of the lifelong learning concept is connected with work experience and maintaining professional competence. This perspective is strongly connected with competence frameworks and continuous learning activities to preserve competencies and skills due to scientific, economic, and social changes. So, lifelong learning is defined as an art helping adults learn with emphasis on learners' self-direction, experience, and motivation. A lifetime journey starting from infancy until the day we perish, which makes learning a synonym for life. A way of living, a permanent endeavor to acquire new skills and knowledge for self-perfection and maintaining professional competence. The lifelong learning mindset. Until now, we have explored lifelong learning concept interpretations and definitions to have a better understanding of how it can be applied for us to develop and succeed in this changing world. Overall, it seems to be a complex and challenging idea. However, we can make use of its complexity by creating a lifelong learning mindset to suit our professional and personal needs. A lifelong learning mindset. First, we need to clarify that there isn't a lifelong learning mindset definition or characteristics that are generally accepted. This is because lifelong learning is a complex concept with a long tradition across disciplines with different interpretations, including at political and socioeconomic levels. Also, the lifelong learning idea is strongly associated with continuous education, and a lot of controversies and public debates surround it. However, lifelong learning relates to notions like continuous learning and a growth mindset, which we can refer to as a guide for creating and developing a lifelong learning mindset. What exactly is a mindset? Mindset refers to a set of ideas that influence human behaviors and actions that explain mindset. Most common interpretations of mindset are a set of beliefs, attitudes, assumptions, or ideas that influence people to act in a specific way. These are two explanations from a social psychological point of view. One, a set of self-relevant beliefs and attitudes that shape motivation, resilience, and the way individuals engage with challenges. Two, a state of mind that influences how people think about and then enact their goal-directed activities in ways that may systematically promote or interfere with optimal functioning. So, what would be the characteristics of a lifelong mindset? The most obvious characteristic of a lifelong mindset is that learning happens across the lifespan, not only in formal educational environments. Learning doesn't end with obtaining a diploma, and it's so we can conclude that the first characteristic or core belief is that learning is a continuous endeavor. Learning happens in different contexts and can help people to continuously build on their existing skills. So, lifelong learning means that the learning process is possible in all stages of human life, from infancy until old age. We could also refer to learning in different contexts or environments, such as home, kindergarten, school, workplaces, and communities, or wherever learning can take place. Lifelong learning is linked with several sets of abilities, and this session will concentrate on strategic thinking, creativity, critical thinking, curiosity, and resilience. Also, it has commonalities with existing concepts like the growth mindset established by Carol Dweck. The growth mindset and lifelong learning. Throughout the history of learning and education, the lifelong learning concept transformed from a survival necessity in changing times into a strategic personal and professional growth tool. By embracing this argument, we can see the value in continuous learning, growth, and self-improvement. By doing so, not only do we stay ahead of our time, but also become more innovative and accomplished people. The common characteristic of lifelong learning and a growth mindset is the desire for continuous learning and commitment to learning and self-improvement by exploring new development opportunities and being open to new strategies and changes when facing obstacles. The growth mindset term was coined by Carol Dweck in her work, Mindset: The New Psychology of Success, published in 2006. The growth mindset is defined in opposition to a fixed mindset that leads to avoidance of inner growth challenges and developing new skills and knowledge. In a growth mindset, the skills and intelligence may be improved through work, learning, and perseverance. People possessing a growth mindset are more likely to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, and ultimately achieve higher levels of success than those with a fixed mindset. The growth mindset's central belief is that people have the ability to overcome learning obstacles and convert them into learning opportunities. For skills to develop for a lifelong learning mindset. Here are skills and personal traits that contribute to maintaining a system of beliefs for lifelong learning. These are curiosity, critical thinking, strategic thinking, and resilience. Strategic thinking. A strategic thinker has the capability to see and understand the big picture and plan ahead. Strategic thinking engages the decision-making process and future planning, enhancing our ability to set goals, plan learning activities. Among the characteristics of a strategic thinker identified by Jean Liedtke, 3 of them relate to a lifelong learning mindset. Driven by long-term purpose rather than reacting to immediate issues. Intelligent opportunist, open to new opportunities and aligned with strategic goals. Capable of thinking in time, integrating past, present, and future possibilities and experiences to make better decisions. What is and what's not strategic thinking? Strategic thinking isn't just for leadership roles. It's for anyone who wants to make better decisions in life. It involves thinking ahead, preparing alternatives, and having backups. However, strategic thinking isn't about overplanning, worrying, or overthinking. It's about preparing just enough to handle things and surprises and keep moving forward. Most of us use strategic thinking even in our free time. For example, while planning a trip with friends involves tasks like picking suitable routes, checking weather forecast, setting budget limits for food and fuel costs, anticipating roadblocks and health problems. For example, a software developer committed to lifelong learning does not just follow coding tutorials, he strategically plans his learning paths by identifying which programming languages and frameworks will be in demand in the next years, plans learning ahead, and applies knowledge through projects. These strategically oriented learning efforts ensure long-term benefits. Curiosity. Learning is an innate human desire and is seldom accompanied by curiosity. Curiosity makes people more motivated to learn, retain more knowledge, and acts as a catalyst for learning by triggering the brain's dopaminergic reward system. Curiosity is a skill you can train, and sometimes, all it takes is asking the right questions, like, why did this happen and what if a different decision had been made? Neuroscience research demonstrates that curiosity activates dopaminergic pathways associated with motivation and learning. According to Lowenstein, curiosity is like a cognitive itch that must be scratched through knowledge acquisition. When learners recognize a knowledge gap, the brain responds by increasing activity in the areas linked to reward anticipation and reinforcing the need to close the gap. Curiosity fosters a natural desire to learn, making learning enjoyable. Most of all, curiosity-driven learners tend to have intrinsic motivation, which was identified by educators as the most sustainable form of motivation for lifelong learning. Also, it has an important role in improving memory. Studies revealed that curiosity plays an important role in improving memory. It seems that in a state of curiosity, brain activity enhances in the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory formation. So, curious learners are more likely to retain and apply the information they learn. By fostering curiosity, questioning assumptions, and refining reasoning abilities, lifelong learners can navigate challenges with confidence. Critical thinking. While curiosity is a powerful driver of learning, It requires critical thinking to ensure that the missing information is compensated with meaningful knowledge. So, critical thinking is indispensable to a lifelong learning mindset because it enables people to analyze information and solve complex problems. The ability to think critically is a vital cognitive skill and a precious and useful survival tool in all circumstances of our lives. Critical thinking is defined as the ability to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information to make reasoned judgments. Critical thinking enhances adaptability, problem-solving, and decision-making, key attributes necessary for lifelong learning. For example, when buying a new smartphone, we are all tempted by the newest fashionable models. However, a critical thinker will most likely balance the real needs with possibilities and opportunities and long-term consequences. The buying decision will be based on assessing facts and not marketing pressure. Before buying a smartphone, a critical thinker would consider product reviews, compared performance and functionalities, costs, warranties, and availability of accessories, etc. What is and isn't critical thinking? Critical thinkers ask questions rather than accepting things as presented and challenge their value. Also, they analyze the source of information, gather evidence, and consider multiple perspectives, resist the urge to react emotionally, and choose to respond thoughtfully. Critical thinking is not about being skeptical of everything or criticizing people for their choices or opinions. It's about slowing down, asking questions, and making informed decisions based on facts and data, not just feelings or guesses. Resilience. Learning process is not a smooth journey. It comes with ups and downs, challenges, failures, and disappointments. The capability to overcome learning challenges, to persevere when faced with difficult tasks, the complex learning journeys, is our resilience. Resilience is an essential characteristic of a lifelong learning mindset because it enables learners to persevere despite failures and challenges. In this ever-changing world, learning never truly stops. So, being resilient ensures that drawbacks can become milestones and ensures learning success in both personal and professional environments. According to Carol Dweck, resilience is the ability to endure setbacks and reflects a growth mindset, in which abilities are seen as malleable rather than fixed. Recent studies show that it is an essential psychological trait that empowers individuals to adapt and thrive in the face of challenges. Results revealed that learners develop resilience strategies over time while persevering in their coursework. For example, if you're working full-time and have enrolled in a master's degree, your agenda is full. This is a long learning journey, and the pressure to keep up with the assignments can lead to exhaustion. To avoid feeling discouraged and overcome this pressure, a resilient learner will manage negative emotions by taking breaks, prioritizing the most important learning activities. Also, resilient learners treat any failure calmly and see it as a temporary setback and keep persisting. How to adopt a lifelong learning mindset? Adopting a lifelong learning mindset can expand your career possibilities and enrich your life. We are taught, or we assume, that after finishing school and obtaining a diploma, we are done with learning. Choosing a career path and then keeping up with changes requires formal training. In reality, learning happens every day, intentionally or unintentionally. Skills, along with innate traits or aptitude, are prerequisites for any learning endeavor. Your mindset and attitude play an important role in successfully attaining your objectives. Having a positive attitude towards learning and an adequate mindset can help reveal your hidden potential. You can create a powerful lifelong mindset when your aptitude meets your attitude. Imagine that subject or skill you would like to master. It could be anything you can think of, from playing piano, cooking, drawing, coding, writing, playing chess, to playing video games or skydiving. Now, rather than thinking of the steps you need to take to learn the skill, let's imagine that you have already mastered this skill. Take 10 seconds and think of how that would feel and what new possibilities or career opportunities that particular skill might unlock for you. How it makes you feel and the possibilities that are opening up in front of you are your powerful beliefs and your guides in your learning journey. A lifelong learner mindset that unlocks your hidden potential and helps you embrace the fact that you are much more than your degree or current job. Lifelong learning mindset. It's your precious collection of powerful thoughts and strong beliefs that will fuel your learning motivations and guide your actions towards understanding, insight, and achievements. So, what exactly would be those beliefs that can be made part of a lifelong learner mindset? What ideas would help unlock hidden potential and embrace the fact that you are more than a degree? Let's see a set of beliefs for acquiring a new skill set as an example. It's never too late to learn something new because there's always room for improvement. Learning something new will boost my confidence and my ability to help others. Learning new skills creates new opportunities and paths to fulfill my dreams. 4 steps to become a lifelong learner. 1. Understand your learning style. Learning is a different process for each person because we are unique, have different life experiences, motivation and skills. It is important to understand how you assimilate and process new information so you can improve your learning skills to make your learning paths easier. You can take free assessments to find out how you learn, like Kolb's Learning Style Questionnaire. 2. Cultivate your curiosity. Curiosity is a personal trait that fades as we age. Being curious is a precious quality for enjoying learning, and you can practice it by asking questions, staying open to learn new things or skills. One way to encourage curiosity is by using Y5S for the subject you are interested in. Also, another way to approach being curious is by setting periodic mini-research sessions into your weekly routine about new industry trends, recent innovations, or latest scientific discoveries related to your profession. 3. Develop effective learning strategies. Mastering learning tools to help you make your learning paths easier in the long run. Here are a few learning techniques to consider. Micro-learning, breaking learning into shorter and focused sessions. Spaced repetition, reviewing materials at longer intervals to reinforce retention. Active recall by summarizing, self-quizzing the learning materials or teaching others. Diversify learning sources, using books, articles, videos, podcasts, and courses, etc. 4. Reframe failures as learning opportunities. Learning demands involvement, discipline, and effort. We start a path from a lacking and vulnerable state of mind with expectations, towards becoming a knowledgeable person able to master skills. Making mistakes is a normal part of the learning process, and recognizing the efforts involved helps see failures as a continuous improvement process, not blaming yourself and taking mistakes personally. Separating learning failures from your identity and seeing them as part of the learning process will help you to reframe any learning failure into opportunities to learn, as a natural part of growth and improvement. Lifelong learning is a continuous process, and acknowledging failures helps us shift our perspective from disappointment to constant progress. We continuously build on skills using both formal and informal learning opportunities. So, stay curious and keep learning. As Zig Ziglar says, your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. You'll find all the references and resources of the video learning session in the description below.